which got out of the hands of the Democratic Party, who thought they had control of the narrative and are now realizing, oh shit.
Ah,
Yeah, man. What I
that's
was
hot
saying,
shit
man.
right there, man.
So what we gonna do? We gonna dub that?
Yeah, man, let's do it, dog. Let's get it
Your
done.
buttons and they get you emotionally charged. Meanwhile, they slide out the back door with the bag.
We're losing in the polls because we're not answering this. So they throw a softball with a whole bunch of money towards their laundering partners. And here we are going, we've got 13 states now that are actually supporting Texas.
I think the number is like 25.
I actually haven't looked at it since Wednesday. But damn. So,
Yeah.
okay, I don't care if you're talking red or blue. Now we have half of the states of America saying, why is our federal government, why is our number one man not addressing this?
Yeah, but just like what you're saying though, it's basically politics. It's basically them using this issue for political gain in an election year. I mean, that's
Okay,
really what's
the
going on.
ultimate. Let me put it into perspective. Let's toss this number of say there's 33 million immigrants over the last 4 to 6 years. Can we agree with that's probably pretty close to right?
Mm, uh,
I mean,
uh,
we're talking about now. You've been paying attention. You've been covering this. They were talking 2023 during right before the pandemic hit, and so I'm going to say 12 because we've got record migrations. So, and I'm using 33 million for a reason because there's 330 million people in the United States. Actually, more than that. I'm just doing this for math. So, we literally have an influx of 10% from the from the border. And over the last say 10 years, we'll call it. All of these people do not fall under the dreamer and have the chance toward things and stuff like that. This is all the ones we're talking about now, not the ones I'm excluding dreamers because we all know people that were born and raised here should not be fucking sent back because they're illegal because they don't know anything else. This is their country. I'm talking about the group of illegals. So we're looking at a 10% based on 330 million, right? Neither side is going to make a sweeping move for them until that they can guarantee they get that voter base for an entire generation.
I don't see how that could be a motivation. It takes freaking 10 years to get legal if you
Not with the laws that they're trying to pass. There's already states that allow illegals or excuse me, non-documenteds to vote.
I haven't seen that. I have to see that. I haven't seen that. And one part of this story that I think is kind of gets left out is that the craziness of the world, the things going on, the wars, let's say record levels of inflation, and I'm not just talking about the United States, the turbulence of the world, things going on, climate change, whatever, leading to record levels of migration. you know, not all of this is political as far as like because Biden said, come on over here. Maybe it has to do with like the economies of these countries. You know what I mean? Like what I'm trying to say is we're not looking at this as what are the root causes of these things other than pointing fingers at one administration or one political party over the other. Like the turbulence of the world, the things that are going on in other parts of the world, you know, we aren't the only country that's having record levels of immigration that's happening right now. You know, you know, we can go before the pandemic, but even since the pandemic, I mean, things have been crazy and people are moving around overall. You know what I'm saying? And you know, we do have record levels of people moving around, but it's not just based on Biden saying, come here and have a happy life. You know what I mean? This is what I'm trying to say. You know, and we also have a situation where, you know, I don't think that people like they keep calling it a crisis, and that's fine. We can call it that. But I don't feel like they are actually trying to look at root causes for the problem to actually look for real solutions. You know, I think they're just using this situation as political tools to get votes. And ultimately, that's all that you have really going on. You had migration happening when Trump was president. You had people coming across the border, then record numbers, you know, and they want to act like Trump was so great on the border and immigration, and like things are going to be so different if he gets to make it back in there. Well, things weren't that much different when he was in there. I mean, he was talking about building the wall and all of this or whatever, but people were still coming over. We still had the problem. It wasn't solved. So how can we think that, you know, Trump gets in there now, the problem is going to be solved? That's what I mean. It's just political pandering. So we got on this from this Mayor Whitmire's quote where he was saying that, you know, Houston is not going to enforce these laws. And what I was saying was, I don't know if that's okay to not enforce laws. You want to enforce the law. You want everybody to follow the law. If the law is the law, then follow the law. But it gets sticky because of the language that's in the law.
Here's where we have an integrity issue. And I'm saying, Mr. Whitmire, you have integrity. Whether I agree with your decision or not, he's saying the state law is not a constitutional law. And as a man of honor and integrity, I cannot enforce it because it is not, I do not consider it a legal law. I am willing to wait until the Supreme Court decides on this issue, but until then, I cannot enforce this law. I respect that, whether I agree with him or not, and I kind of do. Like I said, as long as it's about suspected, then I'm not going to agree with the law. As long as there's not a hard line definition, I can't do it, because as long as it's up to somebody's perception and somebody's disposition or somebody's attitude or feeling that day, I can't agree with it.
And isn't Whitmire a Republican?
I honestly couldn't tell you. As much as I talk about local elections and stuff like that, I don't follow them.
It's crazy because I got one of his posters right across the street from me right now. It's still up from the election.
Ain't
That's
none
how
of
local.
none of these guys proved to me yet that they can affect my life in a way positive or negative. The only one that's bothered me is that judge chick that needs to go. The one who was in power during the pandemic.
Hidalgo.
Yeah, she needs to go. I don't want her. She affected my life and bugged the shit out of me. None of these other guys have actually affected my life in any real way.
Let's play his clip one more time because we've been rambling.
She was the one that stopped us from being able to go back for an extra 8 months.
I don't understand why there's so much hate for her. I don't really get that.
She was the one that stopped you and I from going back to work for 8 months after the fucking. I didn't even get the unemployment money. Everyone that did, she was the one that made us wait 6 months longer before things were opened up here in Houston. She was the one that originally got us turned into a sanctuary city and brought the mayor in on that at the time. She's the one that went and pushed all the mandates. She was the one she was the dictator during the time period. The one that told us instead of considered us as the people that elected her in. And I just think she was very horrible at her job and was very, very power hungry and very, very sold out to the mainstream to the point where she didn't listen to the people who voted her in. And she wasn't a very pleasant human being either.
I don't know. It's weird how with my there's so much hate for her. I don't know why. I don't really know where all that came from. I want to play this because we rambled for a long time. I want to play his reply again right quick and read the comments so the audience can be on board with what we was talking about with here, because we kind of went around in a circle on this.
It's largely just, unfortunately, extreme politics, and I've spoken against it as a senator. It's wrong. We ought to leave immigration to the federal government.
But have you spoken in terms of, what's HPD going to do? What
HPD is not enforcing immigration laws, period. It's unconstitutional. The border belongs to the U.S. government, and I think you'll see the courts rule that before the March implementation. It was wrong. It couldn't be carried out if the state wanted to. There's just no plans for it. There's no place to place individuals. There's no way to distinguish who's documented, who's undocumented. So it's largely just, unfortunately, extreme politics. And I've spoken against it as a senator. It's wrong. We ought to leave immigration to the federal government.
But have you spoken in terms of, what's HPD going to do? What
HPD is not enforcing immigration laws, period.
HPD is not enforcing immigration laws, period. And the line he said where there's no way to distinguish between if they're documented or not documented. So they're going to have to do basically a racial profiling on these people. And that's what I'm saying. The language in the law, that's what it sounds like to me. That's what I hear. Let me read some comments. It says, typical Democrat ignoring the law. Let's see. It says, Houstonian here, and just no logical way to enforce this law. 50% of Houston, Texas is Hispanic Latino. I'm like, are they going to stop everyone? So happy at John Whitmire listens and speaks for the people of this city. And it's not just Democrats not following the law. We got Republicans, including the president, not following the laws. Yeah, well, he's saying it's unconstitutional, so that's the reason why. So hopefully they do get a good answer on this before the law goes into full effect in March. Another comment says, good answer, Mayor. It says, thank you for undoing the mess on Houston Avenue, but your stance against this bill is wrong. Protecting Americans and Houstonians should be your #1 priority, or at least your top 10. Well, he's saying that you can't even really do it, like what they're trying to
No,
say.
he is protecting Americans. He is protecting Houstonians. I mean,
Exactly.
we can't become that country. And like you said, we are state, and we're not even state. They're local officers. I mean, this, like, you know me, I'm constitutional, man. This is a constitutional issue. And I think the government is overstepping their position in this. Or excuse me, the state of Texas is overstepping their bounds in this.
Yes, I think so.
They've got a great idea and I agree with a lot of what they say about it, but they are overstepping their bounds.
I'm missing some comments. Pat said slave labor is the intention. That was a little bit earlier. It's probably what I was talking about too. And I agree with you, Pat. I think so. Because they're talking about 20 years for these people. Another comment, he says, is ignorance of the law still enforceable? I don't know what you really mean there. Is ignorance of the law still enforceable? I don't know what you mean there. He says the Constitution already states how immigration should be handled, but being ignored. Yeah, I mean, that's the argument that they're saying. You know, that's what they're saying. But the wording and the language in this law is too vague. They need to write it better if they really want to do something. So that's what makes all of this look really political. When, like Doc was saying, these people write 10 pages for some simple ass thing, but then they vaguely write this law. That seems like I'm trying to find the right word, but that's like
sketchy.
Yeah.
Sus.
Yeah. He says states have rights too. They do, but they can't go against the Constitution.
Well, that is the issue here, though. When the government fails to do what is under the constitutionally their thing, then it becomes the state to handle it under their own. I mean, that's the argument here. I mean, you got to realize everyone's talking about making jokes about Texas and the Texit movement, but they don't understand. Part of Texas's agreement with the United States to become a state was that at any time we felt that the government of the United States no longer followed with our ideals and we could no longer be part, we were allowed to remove ourselves.
Well, if they don't want to follow
we're one of the only states that has that in our agreement with the country.
Well, if they don't want to follow the U.S. Constitution, then they should secede from the Union, and all of the benefits that come from being a part of the Union should no longer be there for them. Comment, it says focus on Houston.
That was very judgmental.
For another comment,
the whole idea is this is the question we're asking. You're stating that from it's already decided point of view, and while I lean that way and agree with that way, it's not been to court yet, and I want to see how this Supreme Court rules on this.
Yeah, we need to see how that
Because
plays out.
I'm on the fence with him right now. I have liked and not liked. I have hated their decisions, but had to agree with why they made them.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how long this is going to last until they're finally like, oh no, this is not the way you were supposed to go on this. You just fucked it all up.
Yeah, well, I didn't like some of this. We talked about Whitmire already a pretty good amount, and I didn't like the stuff related to law enforcement that he was focusing on that, because we were having the whole argument about the crime going down and then him focusing on crime or whatever. But his comments on this particular topic is, I think, all the way on point.
Okay, this actually follows with exactly the statement he was saying about focusing on crime. It wasn't just focusing on crime, it was about making people here in the city feel safe.
Feel safe. Okay,
Yes.
I can get that. So, we
So,
have a huge
he
Hispanic
still-
population.
We still
So-
need to focus on crime, just not necessarily the same crimes, or focus on areas where crime is moved to, or focus on areas with the highest crime rates. He wants to, yes, it's going down, but yes, we want to reduce it more to make sure people feel safe. Like the city of Houston is trying to make people feel safe and comfortable in the city of Houston. That way, a whole bunch more Californians can move in, and we can just burn it all to hell.
Well, his comments here kind of goes with the feel safe thing, because we have such a huge Hispanic population here. That's going to make the Hispanic population feel safer hearing Whitmire say, I'm not going to enforce this.
Hey, like I say, I respect whether I have agree with him or not, which I actually do in this case because it's a constitutional issue. I admire him for standing up and going, no. I mean, to me, that's like a soldier in the army going, this is not a legal order and I cannot follow it. Do what you will, put me in jail, Article 15, whatever, but I can't follow this order. And I respect that integrity, whether I agree with their position or not, which I do. Again, I do agree with his, but yeah, man, that's some integrity right there.
I agree. It says, it's in this comment, it says, it is unconstitutional for you to give sanctuary to a criminal. So, like, this sounds good on the surface, but it's like, what's you determining that they're a criminal? That part is sketchy, because what way do you determine that they're a criminal? And with a lot of this stuff, it's like when we talk about victimless crimes and stuff, like, and then the other part we say give sanctuary. If there's trying to get, damn it, I'm tired. The freaking not sanctuary, when they're trying to get what is the word I'm looking for? Asylum. Thank you. When they're trying to get asylum, that is not the same as, that is like sanctuary, but that's legal under, what is it, international law or whatever, to offer asylum to people who are fleeing from conflict or whatever the hell the language is. I ain't gonna be able to go much longer. My brain is starting to get fried. A couple more comments.
Geneva Convention.
It says, buena decisión de nuestro alcalde. It's another comment that says, if it's up to the federal government, then why are you creating many magnets like being a sanctuary city? Are you above federal laws? I never heard that Houston was a sanctuary city. So,
Yes, we are a sanctuary city.
mm,
Check Pat's comment.
I didn't know that. Another comment that says, "I love being a Texan, but Houston has
Check
been."
Pat.
Oh, he got comments. Oh, my bad. He said, I hope the Californians that come to Texas are the ones that are seeking older California ways." Mm.
Well, half of them went back when we hit summer and they melted.
Is what American
An educated and united public cannot be controlled. Get organized.
learn to be active. I think the political spectrum is far right Trump,